Hey there, let's talk about Kherson. So Kherson is obviously our main topic to talk today, but I'm going to touch about the rest of the Ukraine at the end of the video. I've been following this extensively yesterday, and I have a very good idea about where the attacks are ongoing, where the fighting is ongoing, how deep the penetration of the Russian-held territory has been, and I gotta say, in some places it has been quite deep. However, due to the fact that both Ukrainian command has asked to kind of hold on any media coverage of the situation, and I know even people that are watching me are worried about this. As much as I want to tell you guys everything and get all those juicy clicks and views, I still feel that I don't want to damage the situation for us to play essentially on the Russian side, and I'm pretty sure you don't want that also. So I'm just going to outline the general directions of how the things were developing, and then if you yourself find some places where that direction has been developing, then you can tap yourself on the shoulder and say that you're a good analyst. I'm going to obviously explain which villages and parts were taken after a couple of days have passed. All right? Let's go. What do we know? By the fact right now, after aggregating all the data, we can say that generally, the Ukraine has started an attack all over the front line. And to be more precise, and again, I'm showing general directions and not the actual points of attack, it was done in 7 points. We can say that it was done around this area, around this area, around this area, generally speaking, around, I believe, this area, this area, this area, and yeah, around this area. So those were the directions of attack, very roughly. And in some places, penetration was very, very deep. We definitely saw a lot of the Russians routing. In some places, in some other places, the penetration wasn't as deep, mostly because there was objective reasons and because Ukrainians came basically already almost to the second defense line. In total, there are 3 defense lines in Kherson region, and the first line has been breached multiple places. That I can tell you for sure. The important thing to be happy about, yes, I know. I'm also very happy and excited that Ukrainians are finally showing some teeth. But important for us is to not get overexcited and not get our expectations over the top. Mostly it is important because the war can happen in waves, and these waves are not coming always one after another. There are many analysts, and a lot of them I agree with, because they did this with some proofs, saying that this was basically just a probing attack. And it was as successful as it was only because the Russian defenses were so shit, and on the first line of defense, they essentially had a lot of these mobilized infantry from the Donetsk People's Republic and Luhansk People's Republic. So essentially the shittiest infantry there was, they had it on the outskirts essentially as an early warning sign. Whereas the more solid troops are closer to the core targets in this region. We shouldn't overestimate this push, and we shouldn't expect that Kherson is going to get liberated by dinner time today. The biggest mistake that Russians did was around this area. They were following my channel, they watched my last video, and they didn't subscribe to the next one, so they didn't get notification to explain where the Ukrainians are going to attack. So don't be like Russians and subscribe to my channel right now. Oh my god, this sounded so much better in my mind, I tell you. But okay, cringe aside, overall, Russians had a really bad time. They were not prepared. A lot of them, there's a lot of videos showing that a lot of them were very drunk even. A lot of them ran. A lot of them were essentially shocked. But I want to talk about some of the things that I was noticing. Firstly, we have been estimating that the Russians will run low on resources for a while now because there has been so many HIMARS strike in the last months, couple of months even. However, we saw some of the forward positions being captured by the Ukrainians, and there is even at least one very popular video where there is a small forward position shown on that video by the Ukrainians. And while most of the people were like, yeah, Ukrainians captured forward position, I was mostly surprised by just how much weaponry is there for just a simple forward position. So this tells me that while we were expecting that they would still have equipment stored on the positions that they just distributed from the big facilities, it was not completely clear just how much they have of it. And judging by that video, if that was everything that was stored just at one position, there is a lot of weapons still in here. So it's going to take a while of this kind of intense fighting and cutting off the supply lines now for this essentially weapons to get spent, because it's not good enough to just cut off the lines of supply. The weapons that have been stockpiled also need to be spent. We're going to see that there's going to be some intensifying of fighting, and Ukrainians will try to draw out as many shots as they can. Penetrations that Ukraine's achieved are now being solidified. I've seen a lot of videos with where the columns are coming in, and I actually got a message from some of my sources on the ground saying that yes, there are indeed significant penetration in at least one area where I was very surprised about. What do we also need to know about is that it can happen that after today, for example, that this will stop and there will be, for example, 2 weeks of silence. Well, just with just artillery battles. Ukrainians were not, I guess, I think that there was not even estimation that it would be such a deep penetration, because to be honest, a lot of the analysts were super surprised just how far they went. We need to understand that right now Russians are also regrouping. They've definitely, not all of them ran. There is definitely still a significant chunk of forces in the area. Now, these forces are not very homogeneous. I already told you about this. There is a lot of very shit forces. There is a lot of really nice, like not Spetsnaz, but paratrooper forces. There is some firepower in here. There's been a lot of firepower moved. This is like one of the most densely packed military areas in Ukraine right now. They are in a deep position, but they still have enough supplies to give a significant fight to Ukrainians. So hold your horses. That is my biggest message for you today. I think the biggest thing that we should take from what has happened, right, even if we don't think about that Kherson is going to get captured tomorrow, is the shift. For the long time, we were talking about that Ukraine was about to grasp the initiative. And as the Third Army Corps was coming in from Russia, a lot of the people were discussing, will that additional Third Army Corps give the rhythm and the initiative back to Russia? Ukraine decided not to wait, and we can say that with this attack, Ukraine has grasped the initiative. So right now, Ukraine is officially the aggressor, if one might say so, and Ukraine is dictating what is going to happen by this point. If before it was still kind of unsure in the air, yesterday Ukraine made a statement and Russians crumbled significantly enough to now be in a essentially difficult combat situation. We should look at not at what was taken, what was captured, but that significant change has happened in a sense of Russian mentality as well. First it was Kyiv offensive when they need to withdraw, then it was Moscow, then it was the HIMARS strike that couldn't be prevented, then it was the strikes on Crimea, and now we see also people all over Russia, especially Belgorod, yesterday at night, they were fleeing Belgorod. So Russians do not feel safe. Russians already understood that they are in deep shit. And while their propaganda on TV is stating that we are nice and glorious and we're soon going to be victorious, the fact of the matter is they are fleeing. What else can I say to you? Well, there's been a lot of good news. Support for Ukraine is growing. I already showed you the chart. If not, then if you haven't been seeing my stream, which I suggest that we talked a lot, was very, very nice. Go see my stream. It's just a couple of videos ago. We've talked about the fact that European facilities are full of gas and Russia will not have any kind of chokehold on the European economy. In winter coming, we already hear this from the Scholz rhetoric that's been very much growing in aggression towards Russia, very much growing in to being critical about this and to support Ukraine. And the support for Ukraine is growing. US is deploying more and more facility. They're building a long-term military support mission right now in Europe to support Ukraine. They are engaging what was long ago discussed, the transport of the weaponry by the Navy. Everything looks really good for Ukraine. And I've said this before, and I will repeat this again and again and again. The more winning it is for Ukraine, the more supplies and support will Ukraine get? Everyone loves a winner. Ukraine needs to show that it's winning. And yesterday it did make a statement. So I think this even small attack that Ukraine did, well, it's not very small, it's quite big actually, but it will be a big boon for Ukraine to get to benefit from. Now let's talk quickly about some other parts of the map. So around Kharkiv, Russians are decided to randomly attack and take Udi. Apparently Udi has been taken again, and it's a small village on the border region with Ukraine. It's not threatening anything. There is not much fighting going on here. It's a very passive combat. Russians have been trying to essentially do some kind of a push around this area and say, hey, like, we're gonna be counter pushing you because you cannot do it on Kherson. But it didn't seem too much. We know that this direction is pretty much stalled. Like, there is almost nothing that is happening here except for some shelling. This direction, there are attacks from the Wagner group, especially around Kodema. There's been a video showing that the Wagner took Kodema. They showed a video around this area that they are essentially taking Kodema. And again, it's half of the city. There is still resistance in it. Oh, a city. It's a village. It's not a very important village. So they just wanted to kind of get any attention to the fact that they're advancing. But they've been taking Kodema for like, 3 weeks now? So not a big advancement. Again, this is not even taking Bakhmut. Also important, before, as I'm talking for Bakhmut, Bakhmut is cited by some analysts with the Third Army Corps, the 15,000 people that we're talking about. It is expected that the new push that these 15,000 people can do can be significant enough at the current tempo and the strength that they could actually take Bakhmut. But that's about it. That's what essentially what additional 15,000 troop can do towards Bakhmut. Worst case scenario, I've heard that they would be able to essentially encircle Chasiv Yar. So that's basically the extent of what the 15,000 people can do. Now, Pisky. Apparently, Pisky has been finally taken. I congratulate Russian forces. It just took them half a year. That was very good job. Very, very good job. They were able to take one village in half a year, but they still haven't taken the road as far as I'm aware. So it's already on the outskirts of Pisky, but they're still fighting for the road. It's a very difficult situation for Ukrainians. They don't have a lot of support here, Ukrainians. And Russians are pushing here, so we could expect, as I've described before, that Avdiivka, Pisky would fall, and then we can see that this road they're going to be advanced for. So we might see like a significant push from the Russians. Again, worst case scenario. Ukrainians are still resisting in this area. And that's about it. So I hope this is a good overview for you, and we are going to see a lot of action in Kherson in the coming days. And Ukraine is definitely going to show Russians that they should have learned how to swim when they were young.